Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Late Challenge podcast. My name is Mo Stewart. I'm joined, as ever, by Gareth Roberts. So, Robbo, anything happened to you that interesting over the weekend?
Quiet one, innit?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, just bought a second-hand CD player from Birkenhead. Yeah.
I must admit, it was a bit of a struggle trying to find things for the agenda this week. Like, not much has happened.
Tweeted out, but never got much back. Someone was saying, what's your favourite item on a Christmas dinner?
Oh, right. Okay. Well, that's obviously got to be stuffing.
I like stuff.
Yeah.
4 different types if we can do it.
Oh, yeah. I even like the kind of nutty one that like vegetarians do. I'll throw that in there. All right, yes, there was something else that happened. We can only hold that facade for so long. Yes, Mo Salah has decided to make life more difficult for lots of people, including himself, by saying what he said after the game at Leeds. We are going to dive into all of that. We're also going to dive a little bit into giving you behind the scenes tidbits. As I was at Elland Road, I was in the media area when it all went off. I wasn't, unfortunately, in front of Mo Salah when he was talking, but we'll explain exactly why that is as well. Obviously, there's a press conference happening tonight. That will be happening probably just as this show ends. So we can't talk about that, but we will kind of trial some of the things that we expect to be in there. And yeah, we might actually talk about the football as well, because there's been 2 actual games of football since we last joined you. But yeah, we can't really hide it any longer. We're going to need to kick into this. First things first, Robbo, what was your initial reaction when you first heard what had happened?
Canate must be made up. No, I couldn't believe it, to be honest. I was out with my mates and, I'd watched the game and obviously we were all unhappy with how the game went because, to blow a 2-goal lead and then to blow it again when you've managed to, score a third. Just sort of sums up our season and another brain fart from Canate as well, or 2. So, yeah, we were all fuming. We were all wondering where it's all going. We're all talking about the Reds and what a crap season it is and, and all of those things like everyone else. And then that drops on top of that. And my first thought was just why and why now and what are you doing and what do you want to get out of it? And I'm really surprised, I've got to be honest with you, about the amount of people that are going into bat for him on this. If you want Arne slot out, that's sound. I totally understand it because, 2 league wins since September is not good enough for Liverpool. It appears that some of the problems that we've got with the team are not going away. Is the manager fixing that? Can he fix that? Is he the right man? All of those questions are absolutely valid based on how this season's gone. However, the ownership group have come out pretty much and done the vote of confidence in a roundabout way. He's not going anywhere, they're saying, as it stands. So therefore, he's not going, so you get behind the manager, you support the club, and that's what everyone involved at the club should do. It's called a club for a reason. It's a group of people that come together and fight for a common cause and a common goal. And Mo Salah didn't fight for any common cause and common goal. He fought for himself by doing that 7-minute interview. And like I say, I'm still now, there should be some heat out of the situation now, but I'm still looking at it thinking, what are you doing? Because, the consequence of his actions already are that he hasn't gone out to Milan and he won't play against Inter Milan. And Liverpool are not in a comfortable position in the Champions League standings. We need to be in the top 8 to avoid the extra game, and we're not. No. So, we could do, and this will be a tough game. They're top of the Serie A. They were in the final last year. They're no mugs.
No, absolutely.
So we could do with a player like Mo Salah being available. And it now appears that Cody Gakpo and Federico Chiesa are not available. So well in Mo. So, and look, I think what the club have done in saying he's not going is absolutely the right move. I don't think you can come out and undermine the manager publicly, spit the dummy publicly, hint at that you should be picked no matter what publicly, and expect there to be no consequences. And yeah, there's so many aspects to it, isn't it? I mean, it's a big long interview and you've done a big transcript of it and I'm sure we can work our way through it.
Yeah, we will.
But yeah, my sort of just initial thoughts were just shock and why are you doing it? And, he's done it before and it's been over the contracts and stuff like that. And so there's a bit of sympathy around the fact that, when you produce the figures he was producing, when you're the 3rd top goal scorer in the history of the club, then yeah, you know, I sort of got it. I didn't think it was helpful then, but I sort of got it. This time I don't. I really don't. And look, it's pre-planned. He's not done it off the cuff. You know, Ghosty said he even went and got a shower.
He went and had a shower and came back.
Before he came back
had time to collect his thoughts, and so you know, he knew exactly what he wanted to say.
The pieces that have followed, like James Pearce's pieces, said that, you know, there was people thinking, you know, in the club thinking, well, he's probably going to do something. There's a change in how he's been since Friday, knowing that he was going to be on the bench again. Like, you know, I was looking at a few, you know, basic facts around all of this as well. And I just think a lot of what he's coming up with and a lot of what the position he's took just doesn't stack up at all.
No,
I mean,
it doesn't.
You know, he's been an unused sub in nearly 9 seasons 5 times.
Well, we were talking about
it last week.
Yeah.
And okay, 2 of those times are within the last week or so. But he was on against Sunderland for a half. You know what I mean?
The earliest possible opportunity.
Yeah. It's not like he's not been playing any football at all. And, you know, there's a theme in that the 2 games recently that he hasn't started are away from home. Because away from home is where Liverpool have suffered most. Away from home is where Liverpool have looked most vulnerable. So, for me, it's absolutely fair enough that if the manager looks at it and says one of the ways to stop the bleeding is drop Mo Salah, given how he was playing, especially away from home, it's not a mad shout.
No.
And so this idea he's being disrespected when he's being paid the most money in the history of Liverpool Football Club, when he was put on the centre circle of the pitch in a throne with a crown on his head. You know what I mean? He couldn't be respected more. And like I said at the start there, yes, you might not like Slot. Yes, you might want him out, but you cannot go public and disrespect the manager and essentially turn it into it's me or him. And now, you know, look at the fan base. Look at the arguments online. That's you that's caused that, Mo. This is not what we need right now. And as you just said before, this has helped no one, including him, unless the plan is you want to fuck off. Because that's the only thing I can see that this has helped.
Well, yes and no. I mean, we'll get to that. And we will kind of try to go through it all bits. I mean, you kind of went through a lot of the agenda there. But, I mean...
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
Just the initial rant.
But this is the thing. It's like, it's an emotional thing. And he is an emotional guy. And I feel like even if it was a calculated attack, there is still a bit of emotion at the heart of why he has decided to do what he's done. But I want to come back to what you said about the him versus Slot thing, because I think this is a really crucial point, is that it feels like anybody who, within the arguments that are happening across the internet, it feels like anybody who disagrees with what he's done is being classed as someone who believes the Slot should still be the manager and that there's no problem, etc., etc., etc. When that's not the case at all. You don't have to take that position. I think the idea here is not necessarily to say that you're either on Salah's side or you're on Slot's side. I think the idea is to say that what Salah has done is not necessarily... If his end game is to play football for Liverpool, or if his end game is for Liverpool to win football matches, this is the absolute wrong way to go about it. And don't forget, a week ago, there were people, Jamie Carragher in particular, talking about the fact that Mo Salah only talks when things are going well or when he wants something, and that he should talk more and he should come out and talk to the fan base, etc., etc., etc. He's one of the members of the leadership group, so he has the right to come out and speak. No one's got any problem with the idea of him speaking. But it's what he said. I mean...
But he doesn't speak. It's 4 times in 420 games for Liverpool that he spoke. And this is the 4th time. And it's like, you've come out, like we said before, calculated, cold, knowing what the results of it will be, because when he's come out and spoke before, he knows it creates headlines.
Yeah.
He knows that it will be top of the news agenda. He knows it will be everywhere. And I think it's the power pressure on the manager. This manager's dropped me. I don't like that. I'm spitting the dummy and I'm going to go and say this in front of a microphone and drop a bombshell. Now, it may well be, and I don't know how this hasn't crossed his mind, we've lost 9 games this season, and there will be a number that will eventually mean that Arne Slot is no longer the manager. And I know currently he is, and I know currently he's being backed by, you know, the people who run the club.
But that's not infinite.
But it's not infinite, and they made that clear in the stuff that they put out. So you're going away to AFCON. By the time you get back, you might not be the manager anyway. Yeah. So you could have just held your tongue and saw how this went. And as it was, as I said before, there's every chance he would have played tomorrow. And yet, instead, he's engineered this situation. He's done what he's done. You know, he's stunned the football world. He's got fans arguing with each other left, right, and centre, including in our comments now. And it's like, you know, to what end, Mo? What for, Mo? And like, I wouldn't go quite as far as some have said, you know, about sort of, you know, you've tarnished your whole legacy.
No.
You know, you can't score 250 goals for Liverpool and then it all be pinned on a 7-minute interview. But it's not nice and it's not good. And I don't believe that in sort of 9 years at Liverpool, he doesn't know that this isn't the done thing.
It's not tarnished his legacy as the club. It's certainly spoiled the potential ending. Because if this is the ending now,
that's what I was thinking about.
It means that he's not good. Like, I think most people, when they envisage what Mo Salah's goodbye from Liverpool looked like, it would be at the end of a season, hopefully with another trophy and a medal around his neck, where he comes out, does the big speech, gets the big plaque from someone at the club.
It would have been 10 years at the club if he saw out his contract.
Yeah.
And you know, in any other circumstance, that's, you know, you used to get testimonials and that kind of thing. And yeah, that's how I would see it. I would be like, you know, it would have been how I would want it to end for a player of his standing and for what he's done for the club. I wanted cop end. I wanted, you know, final hurrah, score on your last appearance,
mosaic.
You know, come up, mosaic, hand stuff over, speech, all of that kind of stuff. He says in his own rant, why has it got to end this way? You're making it end this way. And like, I don't, you know, someone's put it in the comments because people just believe anything that comes out of people's mouth. Someone said they want him out based on fucking what?
Yes.
Like, they've moved heaven and earth and paid him more dough than anyone in the history of this club. And then that's how he's repaid them by doing it. And the remainder of his contract, I think, is worth about £32 million. That's what he's due to play another 19 months for Liverpool. Knuckle down, work hard, get yourself back in the team, contribute, and we all crack on. That's what you should be doing.
I mean, ultimately, if, as it sounds like he's saying, that the team is no better off without him, then allow that to be proven.
Yeah.
And it will be. If the team aren't as any better without you, that will be obvious, and then you'll be back. I think sometimes as well, you have a player who for so long has been the best, the elite, and he has been the best and he has been elite, and he doesn't understand why he's not still elite. He doesn't quite understand. And the mentality it takes for you to get to where they are, a lot of players find it hard to be honest and assess what's really going on. I mean, I said this to you yesterday in the text. This all feels very Cristiano Ronaldo to me. Like the interview that he did with Piers Morgan. Thankfully, Mo Salah's not spoken to Piers Morgan. But this all just feels like there's a little bit of a, I don't want to quite say delusion, but a lack of understanding of the fact that he is no longer the future of Liverpool Football Club. So if the team is changing in a way that no longer gets the best out of him, that no longer caters for all of his whims, he's going to have to be the one who kind of gets to grips with that. The team isn't going to have to change for him. I think the problem is that so much times this has happened before, it hasn't been that way. So think about when Núñez arrived. He was meant to be the future. And what happened was that he didn't play as like we all expected him to. And then we had to go back to centering Mo Salah. Mo Salah became the centre again, scored loads of goals, everything was hunky-dory, Liverpool won the title, etc., etc. So now all these new signings are coming in, and once again, it looks like the post-Salah world is beginning to be constructed. In his mind, he still thinks, well, no, I can still be part of this. And yet, it's not really the case anymore. He is going to have to take a back seat at some point in the future.
But it's not even now. Like, he's made, you know, all this stuff about sort of, you know, I'm being thrown under the bus and there's people describing him as being scapegoated and all this kind of stuff. But let me just run this by you, which is, you know, an actual fact. This season, Virgil van Dijk has played more minutes than any other player, 1,890. Dominic Szoboszlai has played the same number. Sorry, so it's those two at the top. Yep. 1,890. Then Konate, unbelievably, has played 1,755 minutes. And then next is Mo Salah, 1,524 minutes. Right, so there's only 3 players in the current squad that have played more minutes than Mo Salah this season, and yet he's spitting his dummy because he's on the bench a couple of times. I'm sorry, not good enough. And the idea that, you know, some of the dots that are being drawn and some of the narratives that this is now driving about, you know, managers' choices, stories around the manager, it's only made the pressure on the manager even worse, which is maybe what he wanted. And like I say, I don't understand why Konate gets picked week in, week out, especially when he's publicly saying he's at the scene of the crime yet again. Stop picking him then. Stop picking him then.
Well, what I would say on that,
and Gakpo's another one. I don't understand why Gakpo gets picked week in, week out when he's poor. So maybe Salah's looking at that and is trying to say in a roundabout way, well, they don't get dropped.
But
go and say that to the manager.
But he's the leader of the team, so he shouldn't be saying.
He shouldn't be saying it publicly. He can say it to the manager, but in private.
Yes.
Though.
But so I can answer those things. Number one, on the Konate thing, right? First of all, we have to acknowledge the fact that there's only one other fit centre half. And say what you want about Arne name checking Gravenberch and Endo as centre half options. He's not starting either of them in the Premier League. He's just not. If he was going to, we'd have seen it by now. So then Leone's out injured. So that leaves Joe Gomez. Joe Gomez hasn't been fit fully until really now. So now is the first period where you can really say, okay, I'm going to have to try and make some other choices at centre-half, particularly now that Bradley's back, so Gomez doesn't need to be a right back cover. The fact that Slot has now said that thing about Konate being at the scene of the crime says to me that now is a period where you can start to maybe expect to see him come out.
And it's less games now, isn't it? You know, we still got games regularly, but it's not as mad a period as it has been.
I would not be surprised if Konate... let me put it this way. I would be surprised if Konate starts at Inter and Brighton. I would not be surprised at all if Joe Gomez starts one or maybe even both of those games. The Gakpo thing, right? Because it's interesting with Gakpo because he has played exactly the same number of minutes as Mo Salah. But he's actually, with output, goals and assists, slightly better. Same 5 goals, 4 assists compared to Mo Salah's 3.
Yeah.
But I think as well with Gakpo, we are starting to see a situation where whatever grace he'd had has gone. Like, Rio Ngamoa is a 17-year-old with lots of talent. But I think the way that this team has been playing, to throw him in at the moment would be a mistake. Could damage him more than it could actually help Liverpool. I said this at the very beginning of the season. We want to be in a situation where we don't need him when we're giving him minutes, where we can use him at a time when it suits him, not where we're desperate for it. I think the Hugo Ekitike on the left thing probably should have been explored a little bit more by now. But what I would like to have seen, considering all what we've been saying about, Alexander Isak needs someone who maybe goes on the outside rather than someone who's cutting in the side all the time. Well, maybe that means you need a left footer to play at left wing. I know we don't see that in modern football.
Why are people swearing at me? There is Joe Gomez who can play instead of Konate, you fucking bellend. So there is no replacement. Joe Gomez, mate, who was on the pitch at the weekend. So Joe Gomez could have started at the weekend. Joe Gomez could have been the centre-half instead of dickhead putting in daft tackles, giving away a penalty for no reason and allowing them back in the game. So don't be a smart-ass in the comments. Like, comment by all means, but be fair and make a point worth making and don't just swear at me because I'm not in the fucking mood, to be honest. I've had to deal with absolute bellends on Twitter for the last few days for basically putting that Mo is saying I'm being thrown under the bus when he has thrown the fucking manager and the club under the bus. And I've had accusations of being a fucking racist for saying stuff like that. So frankly, nah, I'm not in the mood for people being a bell in our own comments as well. I'm just not. No. Because like, we're all Reds, or we're meant to be all Reds here. And all you're all doing, the people who are having a go at me, is proving me fucking point. What he said was divisive. What he said has not made anything better. So therefore, why fucking say it when you're contracted to Liverpool Football Club? Your job is to win games for Liverpool. Your job is to score goals, assist, help the team, and help the team get out of this fucking rut. And if you can't put your big boy kicks on and you can't take sitting on the bench for a couple of games, because we were being targeted down the right as well.
Yeah.
People are saying he's scapegoated because it was him who was dropped. Loads of people are being dropped. McAllister's being dropped. Robertson's being dropped. Are they coming out and doing these fucking interviews? No. So he put an hard-working lad, the best player of the season, by the way, on the right, and it's tightened it up, hasn't it? No. So is it not disrespectful to Dominic Szoboszlai to say what he said? Because Dominic Szoboszlai is essentially starting instead of him. And okay, they're hugging each other and laughing at the training today, which felt a bit blag, I've got to say. But anyway, that's just my mini conspiracy theory for the day. But I just think he's so far bang out of order, and this has nothing to do with anything other than I would not expect that from any player. And I would criticise any player for doing it.
I mean, speaking of Szoboszlai, and I was there, it did feel like it was genuine that he was like, there didn't feel like there was any animosity to him from any of the teammates. I suspect if they had some, and they probably would have had some, they'd have got it all out of the system.
Szoboszlai literally did an interview where he was talking about you keep it in the change.
Exactly, I was just going to say that. I was literally just going to say that. Like, that's the point. Where arguably that's what a leader does. That's what a leader looks like.
Yeah.
And I think that
spoke like a captain.
I wonder, because we'll come on to this, but I spoke to Virgil van Dijk after the game, probably about 10 minutes after Mo Salah did his interview. And I don't know for certain because I didn't ask him the question because I had no idea Mo Salah had just done his interview. But it didn't look like he knew. It didn't look like he was waiting for a question that didn't arrive. So I don't think that Mo Salah would have spoken to any of his teammates about what he was planning to do before he did it. So a lot of them may have found out on the coach home when the news broke, which would have been quite a scene. But I imagine that would have been also the place where they would have got it all out of the system. Anyone who had any extra going with him, they get it all out now. So by the time we get to today...
But also there's just like a working environment thing here as well, isn't there? I mean, it doesn't necessarily always have to be teacups, does it? It's like, you can work... I've worked with people I can't fucking stand. And I'm pretty sure they couldn't stand me as well. But we weren't scrapping every day. No. We were in the same workplace, so we had to crack on. And so that will play out across workplaces right across the world, in every profession, in every sport, and whatever it might be. I can remember years ago speaking to a journalist about sentiment around Rafa. When the whole world was very divisive about Rafa, you had people who liked him and wanted him in, and you had people who hated him and wanted him out. And so I asked the question, well, what sense do you get, because you know some of the players, you speak to some of the players, what sense do you get, like, the dressing, everyone else says lost the dressing room.
Yeah.
And I said, do you think he's lost the dressing room? And he said, no. He said, that phrase, this journalist said to me, that phrase is used far too often. And he said, what it was like under Rafa was, some liked him, some didn't really give a fuck. And I thought, that sounds like a normal workplace.
Yeah.
And so I imagine it's like that here. You got a big squad. It's not all cuddly and lovely. Some of them are like him. Some of them don't like him. Some of them bite the tongue. I mean, I did read something saying, he hasn't got loads of close mates.
Yes,
and all that
I was
going to
say, yeah. I think the thing about that as well is that if you think about the people who have been visibly, obviously good friends with Salah, so at times in the club where Salah has been pictured, not only in training, but in other candid moments where he's talking with his teammates, he's friends with his teammates. If you think about over the last 2 or 3 years, the people most often seen with him are Trent and Tsimikas. Now, neither of them are there. I think he was quite close with Luis Diaz as well. And obviously, everybody was close with Jota. So if you were ranking the people who Mo Salah is probably most friendly with within the Liverpool squad a year ago, they've all left. Yeah. So
loads of dynamics have changed, haven't they? And Heitinger got mentioned because I thought, ooh,
yeah,
I said that. Like that. I floated that idea on here the other week, didn't I?
Yeah.
So I'll take that one, even a stop clock and all that bollocks. Someone saying in the comments, because this is obviously heavy and we're all getting stuck in and I'm getting wound up and stuff. Any crisp chat, any crisp chat, lol. He says, this week's powered by. These are nice, by the way.
Yeah, Kiwi faves.
So yet again, we are still working our way through the box that arrived here from New Zealand, courtesy of LFC Elvis, the mighty Quinn. And this week it is
ham and mustard sandwich.
Ham and mustard sandwich flavour, which I've never heard of crisp flavoured ham and mustard sandwich flavoured crisp, but they are very good. Don't worry, we're not going to eat them in the middle of the show like what we used to, because we used to complain about the noises.
Crunchy.
But yeah, I mean, I saw someone say there in the comments, and I absolutely agree with this. You can think that, it's gone too far with Slot and that maybe Liverpool should be looking to recruit another manager now and he's not going to get it back. And you can also think that the star player coming out with this right now in the manner he did is completely and utterly fucking wrong and against the values of this club. You can think both of those things at the same time.
Absolutely.
It's not mutually exclusive whatsoever.
Well, the mad thing about it is, if there were people within the club, obviously you mentioned the fact that it's come out and unofficially been a vote of confidence for him. If there were people within the club who were starting to think, well, maybe we need to look beyond Arne Slot, maybe we need to try and find the right person. What this has done has made that harder as well. Because not only are you looking at, if you're a quality manager, you're thinking, well, that's a fucking mess.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't want to go in there right now.
That's what I thought. Yeah, I said that to someone today. I said, I'm sure there's lots of managers, don't get me wrong, who would want to work with Mo Salah at his best. But equally, if you're looking at it, and as you say, and you're like, potentially could go there now, and you're thinking, well, these new players have come in, that hasn't worked. They're conceding shitloads of goals from set pieces. The star players got a cob on and essentially said, I should be picked on my reputation and I don't need to work hard because I've already done enough. Wow. And I just think, so even what I said before about he could return from AFCON and maybe Slot's not even the manager. But does the next manager want to work with someone coming out with shit like that? I genuinely think, and I got asked this question today by someone, they were like, what do you want to happen? And I said, what I want to happen and what I think can happen are two different things. What I would want to happen is this to be reversed, this to be like, fucking, like Salah basically to come out and say,
went too far.
I was wound up.
Yeah,
I was wound up. I haven't had to deal with this before in my career. Even at Liverpool, like we keep saying, only being on the bench as an unused sub 5 times. So for it to happen twice in a week, it blew my mind a little bit. I was disrespectful to my teammates. I went too far in what I said about the manager. We spoke privately. We've kissed and made up. I'm going to crack on. I'm going to knuckle down. I want to break more records. I want to score goals for Liverpool. I want to help get Liverpool out of this rut. I'd be made up if that happened.
Yeah, me too.
But I just don't think it's going to. No. I think his ego and the ego of his agents, put them two together, I just don't think that's happening. I think the reason he's gone nuclear has been thought out. He's thought about it for a long time. And then Friday's been the final straw, and it's just been a case of, can I go and say this now? And what I mean by that is, if Liverpool had won, he wouldn't have fucking said it.
No,
I don't think it's calculated.
See, the weirdest thing for me about all this is that, and I said this on the radio this afternoon, so many times we've seen players go away on international duty and then talk about how disgruntled they are at their club and issues with their club, or even contracts and transfer stuff has come out from interviews with their home journalists, so to speak. And that was, 8 days away, maybe a little bit more than that, from where he was going to be. If he'd have been saying all of this while not being a current part of the Liverpool squad, if he'd been saying all this from the safety of Morocco or wherever their training camp is going to be, would it have caused a storm? Yes. Would it have been something that they could ride over? Yes. Now, with the fact that he's still here and there's still games being played and he's still going to have to be in and around the team, or not, as the case is now, it just makes it so much more difficult for things to be worked out. I think what we've seen in football so many times down the years, where you think that there's a situation that can't be recovered, and then time happens and it's recovered. I mean, good thing back to the summer, most of us were still, not most of us, there were lots of us who were still thinking, well, even all the stuff that Isak was doing, he might still stay at Newcastle. And then if he stays at Newcastle, he'll probably end up back in the team. Because we've seen it before where everything settles down and then suddenly everyone kind of, like you said, sees their ass and is like, yeah, went a bit far there, sorry. And they kind of come back together. But this is so much more difficult when you are in and around the squad at the moment while this is happening, while Liverpool's still trying to win football matches. And you're right, it does feel calculated. It feels like he senses that Slot is vulnerable and he wants to be in a situation where he can get rid of this vulnerable person and then maybe find his way back in the team. And the other thing that annoys me about this is that if he is still as good as he believes he is, and we all want to believe he is, surely getting rid of the manager isn't the only way to get back in the team. Like, does he think that the manager's just not going to pick him ever again?
Exactly.
I don't believe that.
And Liverpool have sort of put that out today, haven't they? Again, not, you know, if you know how the media works, not like an official statement, but by people who regularly write about the club, you know, they will go beyond. Do you want to say something about this? What's happening? Blah, blah, blah. And of the lines that came out, one of them was, it was always just a current selection, not we are now binning him off for good.
No.
And I think anyone could see that, couldn't they? I mean, I think this was a case of, as I said before, huge blood in the water around Liverpool. Every opponent being, fired up, thinking they can get something from playing Liverpool. The luster almost around this team being completely lost, and everyone going, we can get at these, we can go at these. So how do you stop that? Is it keep doing the same thing or try different things? And, there's these lines around sort of he feels that, he's a scapegoat. He feels that he's being influenced by the media. He obviously, literally references Carragher in his rant. And it's like, come on, mate. It really isn't that. Like, I did Rooney's podcast yesterday, and he made a very good point where he said, you get to as a pro, like obviously who's been brilliant and done incredible things. He said the last place you ever want to look is yourself.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So like obviously Rooney eventually got old and was still chipping keepers from the halfway line for Everton, but was a shadow of what he once was.
Yeah,
and
happens to everyone.
Exactly, and like lots. I don't think his legs have gone. I don't think he wasn't going to contribute for the rest of the season. I just looked at it as a fan as, right now we need to be solid. We need to fight. We need to, stop the rot, if you like. And then he'll come back when it's the right time. And to be fair, if it'd been up to me, which is quite clearly not, I would have started them against Sunderland at home, because I think at home the onus is on you to go and away. If you win your home games and then you're tight away and you're either drawing or you're winning, that's stopping the rot for me. That's all right, although not drawing in those circumstances.
See, I agree with you. I probably would have started him at home, but having got the win at West Ham after so long, I also understand him is reluctant to want to change.
That's what I mean. None of this is mad for me. No. Like, it feels like Salah saying, this is mad that this manager has done this to me. It isn't.
And also, speaking of Sunderland, like we mentioned before, he did come on in that game at half-time.
At half-time, yeah.
And you don't... as much as he got a lot of the ball and he was running at his defender, I don't think you can really say that he made himself undroppable in those 45 minutes. And so we were back to square one, like you say, away from home against Leeds. And I just think that the weird thing about that is that if he'd have started against Leeds, do I think the result would have changed? No. I don't think that he would have influenced the attack or the defence. Because, I mean,
Leeds went great at the back, so who knows? But
yeah, I look, I don't think that Arne Slot has hit on the formula that's going to drag Liverpool out of the Malaysia at the moment. I just don't think that where we are at the moment, we are good enough to be able to say that this is where we need to be. This is how we need to play. This is the blueprint. But I also don't think that anything should be untouchable within this test. He's got to try and find something. And as we keep referencing, with Mo leaving to AFCON, does it not make sense for him to trial some non-Mo Salah starting lineups before he leaves? Like that kind of makes sense. Anyway, we've run completely roughshod all over the agenda, but there are some parts of this. So you mentioned the statement in full. So I did, obviously, I wasn't there in front of him, but I have access to the audio. So I transcribed the whole thing and put it out to you. And there are a few bits in which he said that I kind of want to dig into. You've mentioned one of them, but it's still worth repeating. This is where he says, I've done so much for this club to get the respect I want to get. I don't have to go every day fighting for my position because I earn it. People will say, you're not bigger than anyone. I'm not bigger than anyone. I earn my position. This is football, so it is what it is. Slight contradictions within that one. Essentially, he doesn't believe that his current form should be the reason why he's in the team. It should be his past form. Now, that's not how you pick football teams. That's not how you even give out contracts. The contract that he got that was very big. It wasn't because he was great. It was because they believed that he could continue to be great. I think if you're, however good you are, if you're in a team, if you are saying to the world that it doesn't matter how good or bad you are, you should still be in the team, there is no way that is not disrespectful to your teammates.
Yeah, I just don't get it. I mean, he got the contract because they clearly, he said himself that, he knew how they handle players over 30. And so they broke their own rules to sign him. But also, he had a worldie of a season that's, played a big part of Liverpool winning the league. But then, players that left, like, this alternative, Diaz wanted to go. Núñez, across the course of the time he was here, was not good enough. Diogo Jota passes away. All of these things coming together as mean there is this huge change, and that's got to come into it. They are all factors, and he knows that. He's here. He can see it. And there was that comment he made, didn't he, about sort of respecting the champions because someone was going on about the players we'd signed and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And look, it's turned to shit. And, this is not great. No one's loving it. No one connected to Liverpool, fans, players, managers, staff, right up to the top, is going to be happy with what we've got. I just feel like I'm repeating myself. How have you helped, mate? How have you helped? What were you thinking? What do you want this to achieve? What are you doing? And that's it, I really just don't understand people who are defending it. I don't understand people who can go out there, not only defend it, actively abuse people who are saying what I'm saying and saying like who do you support? Liverpool Football Club or Mo Salah? That
is a very pertinent point. That is something that we see more and more and more.
Like, is he allowed to just do whatever the fuck he wants? Completely, like I say, completely undermine the manager and then just start in Milan. Like, we all just shrug and pretend it didn't happen. There's no way that the club could have done that.
No chance.
The club had to be seen to be doing something about the fact that he did that.
On that point, though, obviously, it's David Ornstein, I think, was on and reported that Richard Hughes was the one who was behind the decision, a decision backed by Slot, but it was Richard Hughes who made the decision to take Salah out of selection. I don't think that that's necessarily a good idea for that to be made public. I mean, David Ornstein is not the kind of person who would say that anything publicly unless it's been checked and double checked by more than one source. So I absolutely believe that to be the case. But I think in this kind of situation, the hierarchy being seen to take that decision out of the manager's hands, I think doesn't really help him. It doesn't really feel like they trust him to make his own decisions, which kind of speaks to a little bit of the uncertainty around him and his position that we were talking about before. But if their intention is to say, oh, well, you can't challenge the manager and get away with it, by you kind of coming over as bit like Big Brother and making a decision for Slot, it kind of undermines him a little bit as well, if you ask me.
I mean, I don't know. It didn't really bother me, that, to be honest. I mean, we know that the setup is that he's head coach and they made a big deal about that and we know why. We know that he didn't want to replicate the model. That was how it ended up being under Jurgen Klopp at the end. I mean, you could look at it another way to say, well, if there are people, including Salah, who are turning against the manager, well, it's not the manager that's decided not to pick him.
Yeah,
you know
maybe.
I mean? I just think it's semantics, that bit anyway. I think for me, it absolutely deserved to happen. I wouldn't play him on the weekend either. I'd just say to him, listen, get yourself off to AFCON, sort your head out, and we'll be in touch.
Yeah.
And then you see how it goes from there. I mean, if he is literally agitating for a move, I think that's wild. I think you are playing for one of the best clubs in the world. We are champions of the Premier League. We're unlikely to retain the title, but we've still got good players. We can still head somewhere. We can still do something. And what are you going to do? Go and play in the desert for a big bag of money? No one gives a flying fuck about Saudi football.
No.
That's essentially a retirement home. And it's like, the other link is America. I mean, it's got better, but it's not the Premier League.
No, and I mean, we aren't going to talk about the World Cup draw, but what the hell was that? Anyway.
Infantino.
But look, everyone knows that I'm a big fan of America. By the way, hello to all my friends in Chicago. But you mentioned the kind of the hierarchy and the higher ups. There was another bit of it that I wanted to kind of talk about, and this is the it's very clear someone wants me to get all of the blame. The club promised me in the summer a lot of promises and nothing. So far, I'm in the bench 3 games, so I can't say they keep the promise.
What does that mean?
Well, exactly.
You start every game no matter what.
Was there any... Does anyone believe that Liverpool would have allowed him to stipulate in his contract that he stays in the team? No chance. No. Absolutely no chance.
But also as well, just have some, be a bit more humble about that. Like you have started the vast majority of games since you've been here. I think it was 50 out of 50, he's 52 appearances last season and 50 of them a start.
Yeah.
And then, posts brilliant figures, golden boots, blah, blah, blah. Life couldn't be better. New contract. It's just got a bit rocky for you as well as everyone else. Like, if he was absolutely ripping it up, I could understand the dummy spitting a bit more. But he hasn't, has he? You know what I mean? He's missed chances that you'd expect him to score. He's taken shots when he shouldn't be taking them. Last season, one of the things we all said about him, and the reason he clocked up so many assists was he tweaked his own game, and he became a creative force as well as a goal scorer. And you were like, fair fucks to him. And he was our outlet. He was the way we went. And look, there is some aspects to this that, are out of his control, and he'll be getting frustrated like we all are. We sat in here after the Charity Shield and said, they stopped going to him.
Yeah.
He's just out there on his own, and he's not getting any service. They're trying to go through vets, all of that kind of stuff. And that kind of stuff has continued to play out, but he's still had chances, and he's still been given the ball away. I've seen him at Burnley away where he couldn't even cross the ball. Do you know what I mean? Like, his form has not been earth-shattering. So, again, how does what he come out with tally with that? It just doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
If you've been fucking brilliant, like if Dominic Szoboszlai got dropped for 3 games and came out with this shit, I'd be like, fucking hell, he's been the best player this season. No wonder he's pissed off. You haven't been, Salah.
Even within the world where the team is evolving away from him and away from his strengths, I think back to the PSV game. Like, he got the ball quite a few times in that PSV game. There were lots of times where he had the ball and he was running towards the fullback, and there were lots of times where the attacks just broke down. It wasn't like, oh, now we're feeding him, we're seeing the old Salah. It might be that the team doesn't suit him as much as it used to, but it's also true that he's not doing the things that he was doing last year. By the way, when you were talking before, I did have a little chuckle. Shout out to Terry Gavin in the comments. 7 Days in the Wilderness, the Mo Salah documentary, voiced over by Attenborough and Gary Neville. That one did make me laugh. But I just think that two things can be true. You can look at it and say the team is not set up to help him as much as it used to be. But that's also...
It still doesn't warrant what he's done.
No, but also, and I mentioned this previously, that's inevitable. Like, the team couldn't always continue to be all about him. There's a reason why you spend so much money on those new players, because essentially they're the future of this team and not him. Okay, something else that I wanted to kind of mention that he said, and this... the stuff that he said about, oh, I know the club too well. I've been here many years. So tomorrow you're going to find Carragher's going to go for me again. Well, but you're going to have to wait a couple of extra days because that's possibly happening while we speak.
Yeah, it will do.
But
Monday Night Football.
Yeah, exactly. But the idea that, not only the idea that Carragher is actually going to be some influence on the club, which I heard someone saying, but that
Carragher knows himself that he gets stick from them, and he has a laugh about it.
Exactly.
He literally spoke to Robbo, didn't he? When he was doing the American stuff, and he was saying to him like, you know, and I think Robbo made some jibe about you're not the most popular person in the thing, and Carragher doesn't give a shit.
No.
I mean, like, you know, love, hate him or indifferent to him, he's very passionate about football and about Liverpool, and he gives an opinion, and that's it.
But the influence of him saying, I know the club very well, and then saying about Carragher, tomorrow you're going to find Carragher going for me, does that him believing that Carragher's doing all these things with the club's blessing or the behest of the club?
But he pissed Slot off, didn't he? Carragher, because Carragher literally said to him, like, you know, what's unfolding here is like basketball, and where's the control around what you're doing? And I'm pretty sure Arne Slot didn't like that.
No,
he's, you know, if you're saying he's gone for him, if you want to use that ridiculously dramatic phrase, well, he's gone for Arne Slot as well, hasn't he? He's gone for Canate. You know, it was on social media, him literally saying he was fucking shite or whatever. Like, you know, like Carragher is passionate about the game and someone who's very forthright and, you know, gives opinions, and they need, you know, that's part of it, and they need to cop for it. And I sort of, you know, it just feels like this cooked up conspiracy in his head. And, you know, I mean, that could be another way. It sounds cynical to say another way out, but it could be if you just said, you know, if he came out and said, look, I found this season really tough, and that was the pressure cooker fucking going off basically, and like, you know, I've been criticised. I felt like I was scapegoated. I didn't get what, you know, even if he said I didn't get out of meetings with the manager what I wanted, which is kind of hints of that. It doesn't say he didn't speak to him, by the way. Loads of people saying, why doesn't he speak? He did speak to him.
He said he did
speak to him
on multiple occasions.
He just didn't get what he wanted from it, is what it sounds like. But, you know, like I said before, I still feel like if he said the right words, there is a way back. But is he, you know, will his ego allow him to say the right words? And I'm not sure.
Well, maybe this is one of those things that time needs to kind of settle. Maybe him going away and going to AFCON and kind of thinking about everything, thinking about whether or not this is how he really wants his Liverpool career to play out. I just think that might be something that helps.
Nonsense in the comments.
Oh God, I'm not even watching. Honestly, that's your job. I'm not even going to go down that road. But I mean, it's a difficult situation for everyone. It's hard to kind of see any kind of roadmap to what happens next. But one thing I wanted to flag up: people are talking about the idea of him leaving in January and Saudi clubs coming back in for him. You mentioned that, and MLS clubs coming back in for him. If that was the case, he would need to be replaced. There was already talk about Liverpool going into the transfer market. I mean, centre halves, hello. Mark Gahey scored last night on Sunday night.
Oh, that just felt like we were being trolled. Like it was like honestly, it was like he's scoring that. You've got Harry Wilson, who used to play for us, scored an absolute fucking world. Yeah. He's having his own goal of the season competition, seemingly. And it's just like, again, I've said it before, I've floated the idea, is this defo not the Truman job?
Are we all involved?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now make Harry Wilson dead good. Get Gay to score the winner. Put loads of knobheads on Twitter in Garrett's feed.
But no, so the point I was coming to is, if you were a player, if you were a Semenyo, who, let's face it, Semenyo knows the Liverpool are admirers of him, but Liverpool aren't the only club who are admirers of him. The same goes for Gahey. If you were those clubs, you're those players, and then your agent tells you Liverpool want to sign you, does this change your mind? I mean, if you think that maybe he's going to leave, that's one thing. If you think he's going to stay, does that make it more difficult for Liverpool to go out there and maybe sign the players that suddenly helps them get better?
I don't think so, because I mean, what's he done this season? Scored 5 and then gone out and publicly.
But all of the
denounced
noise. So if you're,
manager.
would you be thinking maybe I'll stay away from all of this lot until maybe get to the summer. Maybe one of Slot and Salah is gone.
Well, as of now, we're going to see what it looks like without Salah, because he's not playing.
No.
So we've got a couple of weeks before the transfer window opens. If anyone wants to have a look at what it looks like without him, well, you'll see starting tomorrow night. I always think, things like this can feel, and obviously it does. We're living it right now. It is absolutely massive. It's absolutely everywhere. However you consume your media, you will see this times a million today, tomorrow, and the next day. But over time, Liverpool will always be Liverpool. Liverpool will always be one of the biggest clubs in the world. There will always be the power of the badge, the power of the club, the power of the city, and everything else. And so, I'd be quite confident that there's plenty of players in world football who are good and want to play for Liverpool and play in front of this set of fans. And it won't matter a jot to them what Salah is and isn't doing, quite frankly.
Sound? Well, that's good news.
I'm glad we cleared that up. Yeah. Up the Reds. Well, that's better, isn't it?
Yeah. Woo. That's a load of
20 minutes until Slot comes out and says something in the press conference.
Yeah. We mentioned before about Monday Night Football. Apparently, according to Indicalia, Mo Salah will be watching from home.
Enjoy, Mo. You will definitely be on the end of some shit from Jamie Carragher, I would suggest.
Yes.
As you quite rightly predicted. Yes. Because you know what? You fucking deserve it.
Yeah. Anyway, so we've done quite a lot on this, but before we get to the end of the free show and dip into the subscriber show, I did want to give you all a little bit of a glimpse behind the curtain, because I was at Elland Road, working as part of the media when all of this went on. But as I mentioned before, I wasn't standing next to Mo Salah when he spoke about all those things. So I'd kind of gone a different route. When the game finishes, most people went down to the mix zone through a different end of the stand, whereas someone came up to me and said, if you want to get to the mix zone, you've got to go down these stairs there, onto the pitch, through the tunnel. So I was like, okay, sound. That's what I did. When I got into the tunnel, I saw the 5 Live radio people standing there. So I thought, oh, okay, this must be where the mix zone is. I expected to see the rest of the journalists start piling up, but then they didn't. And then the Leeds manager, Daniel Farke, came out and he did his interview with 5 Live. And I was standing there and I thought, oh, I should get an interview with Daniel Farke, the Leeds manager, because in my remit for TalkSport, it's more than just Liverpool. I have to cover more than the teams than that. So I thought, I'll do that. And I did. So he finished with them, and then he was talking to me for 3 minutes. During those 3 minutes, Mo Salah walked past me. And I remember thinking, damn it, I wish I had a chance to ask him if he wanted to talk. But I couldn't, because I was in the middle of a conversation with Daniel Farke. Then Daniel Farke finished, went away. Arne Slot comes over, and he talks to 5 Live. And I could tell by the look in Tony Barrett's eye that he was not going to stop and give me a one-on-one interview like Daniel Farke had. So I thought, okay, let me just kind of stand here and try and record some of what this is going on so I can give it to the people who asked me to do those things. And then I did that. And then as I'm coming away from that, going around the corner, I literally bump into Virgil van Dijk. And I say to Virgil, you got time for a few words? And he's like, where is everybody else? And I said, I don't know, actually. I have no idea where they are. So he's like, okay, so it's just you and me then? I was like, yeah. So then we started chatting and I started recording it. We're there for a good 5-6 minutes, the result of which is on my Substack. If you haven't read it already, there's it there. Towards the end of that interview, a couple of other foreign journalists kind of came along and started recording it. Then I thought, shit, I need to go to the press conference. So I left Virgil with those foreign journalists who were still talking to him and went towards the press conference. When I got to the press conference room, that was when I found out exactly why there was no one else standing around where I was standing, because they'd all either been talking to Mo Salah or in the press room and then found out about what Mo Salah went. And I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where you're working in a newsroom or in a media situation where a big story drops. It is very much like you see it on TV, or like in in the big war rooms at election times, it's just everybody kind of scrabbling around trying to find out what on earth is going on, and phones going to ears and people furiously tapping. And these people who I'd worked with and alongside for the best part of a year and a half now, who I kind of got to know a little bit personally as well as professionally, seeing the shock and the stunned faces amongst them tells you how massive this moment was. Everyone was aware of how big this moment was. And
as was that press officer whose face you could see.
Yes, exactly. In the video, he's very much like, shit. What are we going to do now? Yes, we've got a big old mess to clean up. And then the conversation in the press room went around embargoes, because normally with this thing, there is a little bit of an embargo while everyone kind of gets their affairs in order, so then they can all drop at the same time. Unfortunately, as most people have heard this news come through, Norwegian TV, so I think even Match of the Day said the Mo Salah was talking to Norwegian TV. Yeah. Now, technically,
bit harsh on Gorsty.
Yeah. He was talking to Gorsty. The Norwegian TV journalist was the one who decided to film it. He was the one who decided to leak it. And he was the one
completely ignore the way these things normally are done.
Yeah, and
mate.
He put it this way: he was not very popular in that room because he made too many. Everyone had to completely change their plans and then just get together as much as they can.
Does he have to go to like a Does he have to go to like a committee with like Paul Joyce sat there like, I'm afraid you broke the rules of the Liverpool press pack.
Well, I mean, the
step this way.
The interesting thing will be what happens if he the next time he comes to Anfield, because I feel like there might be someone there who might be having a quiet word with him about the etiquette.
I mean, let's just say over the years, I'm definitely aware of that. There have been quiet words and less quiet words between journalists over things
such as this,
and yeah, can be quite tasty at times.
Yeah. So I mean, to be fair, the Norwegian fellow is pretty tall, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure if anyone's going to go at him like that. But the other thing that come from all of this, the thing that broke this morning around Virgil van Dijk, where one of the other foreign journalists who I left him with recorded something where it appears that he's saying, let him say something. And people have seen this and assumed that he was talking about Mo Salah, and he was like giving his blessing for Mo Salah to speak.
That. Like out of context, someone filming someone's shoes and him saying, well, let him speak or something.
Now,
it could be fucking Anna.
It could be anything. If I was to guess, and I have to guess because I wasn't there, what it would be someone who was trying to get him to leave, and someone who was trying to come to him with a question, and he was in the middle of being dragged away, and he's like, oh, no, let him finish his question, because this is Virgil. He generally is happy to talk to journalists, and he talked to me for a good 5-6 minutes. Then I left, and then he was still talking to other people. So if I was a betting man, that's what I would say happened. What I can categorically tell you is that wasn't just before Mo Salah started speaking. He wasn't standing with Mo Salah and allowing him to speak, as it looked like, or as it was reported earlier this morning. But yeah, it was crazy, and it still is crazy to be in the middle of all of that. And even though the fact is that it was, like I say, one of the first big things I've been involved in as a journalist, I still rather it didn't happen. Like, I didn't take any kind of joy out of it. It was just fascination almost, the fact that I was able to see what it looks like when something like that happens. I'd still prefer it not to have happened, if I'm brutally honest with you. We've nearly done an hour, haven't we? I'm looking at David. He's nodding and saying we've nearly done an hour. And there's still so much to go. We've not even really talked about the game.
Well, we've got the Patreon, haven't we?
We have got the Patreon. But
it's going to be another joyful hour on the Patreon.
But this was my point. I wanted to...
Therapy, though, isn't it?
It is kind of therapy. But
if you like the therapy, can you like the channel? Can you make the numbers go up on the, how many people have subscribed to the channel? Because it's free that, you can just click it and it helps us grow the channel, and it doesn't really mean anything for you other than you get a notification when we go live.
I am also keen for there to be some non-Mo Salah, non-Liverpool as shit football chat on the Patreon show. There's other things to talk about. There's a campaign that a good friend of ours is involved in, which I think the world needs to know about. You've been to a gig. We're going to talk about that. I've been doing my top 50 songs of the year, which I always do. We're going to talk about that. And some other random, slightly more things more likely to make you smile. Some wholesome moments, which, frankly, I think we all kind of need. So we're going to be doing all of that in the Patreon show. We are probably also going to have a screen open with Arne's press conference and maybe be doing a little bit of what he said.
Know what I'm interested in? Maybe I should have said this for the Patreon, but I just want to say it quickly. You know, we always talk about crisps, and we always have done, and people share their recommendations for crisps, and I like that as well. You know what I've just like last week or so? I've had a great time. Where I've gone shopping and gone for just like dead boring things that you need, like bog roll or whatever. I've been like, I'm going to have a look at the Christmas stuff and see what's going on. and I bought the other day from Aldi amaretto infused mince pies. Oh my fucking God. They were fucking quality.
Really?
They were absolutely... I would never, ever... I just saw them and I thought, I'll just try them. I don't know why. They caught my eye. And they were fucking mate.
It's dangerous shopping at this time of year, you know, because like I am trying to eat healthily or more healthy, and
You can't do that in the run up to Christmas.
But this is the thing, I have to do that in the run up to Christmas because I'm going to spend a week in America.
Got some amazing chutney as well.
Oh, lads. This is not what I want to hear. Oh God. Yeah, we were talking a little bit about my journey into trying to, you know, stop myself from buying everything in the shop because it is a battle right now. It really is a battle, and obviously you're not helping.
Life's a battle, lad.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that feels like a good place to round up this one.
Yeah.
Life is a battle.
Life's a battle, and Mo Salah didn't help with it.
No, he didn't.
Thanks, Mum.
Thank you all for coming with us on this little journey. And if you're coming with us to the Patreon show, then hopefully we'll see you there.
Not like that, though.